Liam of Carcanne. Chapter 5. Initiate. Part 2. The cramped wooden room smelled of musty books and the sweet aromatics the owner was burning to cover the lingering scent. Walls lined with deep shelves displayed works of intricate gold and silver jewelry they were not designed for. Others held sketches of works that had only leapt from the crafter's imagination to page and made it no further, concepts that either no one was willing to pay for or the artisan wasn't brave enough to attempt yet. Both were beautiful. Liam and Norrie stood in the center of the small jewelry shop, surrounded by glass display cases filled with intricate rings, bracelets, and raw uncut gems. On the other side of the displays stood a muscular man of average height in his mid-30s. 2 adventurers for the price of 1. Onar, son of Vagrian, current proprietor of Vagrian & Sons Jewelers, said, after looking over the card Elrin had supplied them with. "Sometimes you just get lucky," Norrie smiled. "Sometimes." Onar handed the card back to Norrie. "It's a pretty simple job. In this case, the both of you will be overkill." The craftsman disappeared into a back room for a brief moment before returning with a strapless leather satchel. He set it on the counter between them. "This is mostly paperwork for the union, receipts and other boring things." He opened the case and revealed a bundle of paperwork stacked neatly inside. Piled in among the paperwork was another leather-bound case, this one sewn shut and sealed with wax. "What's the other satchel?" Liam asked, peering in among the papers. "That's Gemsmith's business," Onar said, closing the satchel shut again and sliding it across the counter to Norrie. "And we don't need to know it," Norrie agreed and motioned for Liam to pick up the package. Liam reached over and grabbed the bundle of documents off the counter and tucked it under one arm for safekeeping. "I'm sure you'll be fine, but may the goddess watch your steps nonetheless." Onar smiled and reached out to shake Norrie's hand. Again, Norrie diverted to Liam, who shook it instead. Onar smiled politely at Liam before turning back and heading into the rear of the business. "Another guild's business is another guild's business," Norrie told Liam as the two stepped out into the bright light of mid-morning. "They don't ask about ours, we don't ask about theirs." I wasn't trying to be rude. Liam took a cautious look around the narrow street before joining Norrie from the doorway. "And I don't think he took it as such. It's just another tip. Guilds keep their internal goings-on private. We do the same. It's best not to ask." Norrie slid his hands into the pockets of the thigh-length vest he was wearing over his tunic. "It's best not to dig into anyone's business, really. Poking around too much can get you into a lot of trouble." "So we just take everything in good faith?" "No. There are jobs where you're better off asking questions. There will be jobs when you'll even have to push back against your employer as well. You'll just have to learn when each is appropriate. It'll come with experience." "Adventuring requires people skills." Liam looked from the street to his companion. "Who'd have thought it?" "Adventuring requires a lot of skills people don't think of. We are contractors. We have to know how to manage our business, be constantly learning new skill sets to keep ourselves relevant, and not only know how, but when to fight." "When to fight?" "De-escalation is a valuable tool," Norrie said as they turned the corner off the narrow high street onto a wider and busier avenue. "One you will need if you're going to get anywhere in this business." "I feel like I should be taking notes." "You don't need to go that far. It's mostly common sense." Norrie continued to go over tips with Liam for some time as they continued through town. Not long after leaving Onar's shop, the pair rounded a corner in the street and found themselves stepping into one of the small squares built around the wells dotted throughout town. As was typical in Stossen, the square was ringed with a mixture of homes and shops of different trades, most of which had their doors open and ready to serve whoever needed the skills available inside. Surrounding the well at the center of the square were several temporary booths where an impromptu farmers market had taken shape. Local farmers and merchants selling fruits, vegetables, and other goods from stands they had brought with them. As the two crossed the open space, the smell of pastries and sweet fruits filled the air. Norrie took in a lungful of the aromatic wares set out for sale and turned his attention to a stall selling strawberries. Drawing his eyes from the tempting goods to the sellers, he noticed their attention was likewise set on him. Slightly concerned with the unexpected attention, he turned to Liam and let out a soft groan. "Stop that," Norrie growled at Liam under his breath. "What?" Liam had set his head on a swivel, trying his best to keep everyone in the square in view at once. The awkward motion was beginning to draw attention from places other than the strawberry sellers as well. "That," Norrie gestured to Liam's paranoid demeanor. "You're too tense. You're drawing attention to yourself." "I'm just keeping an eye out." "And as a result, people are keeping an eye on you." Norrie grabbed Liam by an elbow and guided him off the street to a quiet gap between 2 booths. "I get what you're doing, but this is not the time or the place." "I'm just trying to be prepared." Liam's tone was resentful. Surely being vigilant couldn't have been a bad thing. I understand that, and that's the problem. Norrie reached over and took the package from under Liam's arm. What is this? An important package we have to deliver to the Gemsmiths Union. Wrong. Norrie slapped the side of the leather parcel. It's just a random leather parcel someone is carrying around with them, the same as 100 other parcels people are carrying with them around town right now. If it's so unimportant, then why did Onar pay to have us deliver it? His tone trending towards incredulous, it was Liam's turn to tap the satchel. You're missing the point. Norrie rubbed the space between his eyes and returned the package to Liam. The package is important to us because it's important to our client, but so long as it looks unimportant to the outside world, no one will care about it. But doesn't the fact 2 adventurers are guarding it make it obvious it's valuable? Adventurers carry parcels all the time. They only seem valuable if we act like they are, the way you're acting right now. Look, most of this job is about perception. Norrie turned Liam to look out to the crowd of people filing past in the morning market. Managing the way those people perceive us and what we are doing is key. We've been hired to carry an expensive package from one side of town to the other. What's the best way to avoid conflict? To see it coming, Liam gave what he thought was a solid answer. Wrong again, Norrie shook his head. We avoid conflict by not giving anyone around us a reason to escalate any thieving thoughts they have into action. And we do this by setting the perception that the package isn't worth much. That we achieve by not stressing, staying calm, and being casual. If we're not worried about protecting it, most people will think it's not worth their time. That's it. We act calm and hope no one messes with us. We use good common sense. In a market like this, the chances anyone is going to do anything is slim. If we were walking through the slums of Royce Castle or Mainbombriac, then you sharpen up a bit, but you don't look paranoid. If we're not worried about the situation, then your average pickpocket or ne'er-do-well is going to assume it's not worth it. And why would they think that? Liam's concerns reached back to his run-in with Adie and Roos, the 2 thieves who had held him and another at knife point for their wallets. They certainly didn't seem to care what perception anyone had been giving off. Because of this, Norrie tapped the sigil hanging around Liam's neck. We are not just 2 random people casually strolling around with the package. We are 2 adventurers, not concerned with them or anyone else. The symbol buys you a surprising amount of security in situations like this. It's the lowest rank in the guild. Liam lifted the pendant from his chest and looked at it. They don't know that. The guild sigil is the guild sigil no matter what. But it can also be a useful tool for setting people's perceptions. In this case, the perception we wish to give is that the package isn't worth a lot of trouble. Doing so by staying calm and casual also sets the tone we are confident we can handle anyone who might be stupid enough to bother us. If we were hired to clear some bandits out of a village, we'd walk in, heads held high like we are not concerned, convince them we are tough silver ranks who will hurt them if they don't comply. Norrie, you are a silver rank. You can hurt people if they don't comply. You know what I'm getting at. One of the best ways to play up your abilities is to downplay your concern over everyone else's. People either assume you're up to nothing, which in this case we really are, or they assume you can handle anything that's thrown at you. Norrie patted Liam on the shoulder as he spoke the last couple of words. And if they bother you anyway? Liam asked as Norrie's attention returned to the market. You crush them. Norrie's tone flashed cold and his face serious, quickly and quietly, in whatever way is fitting for the circumstances. Oh, look, a lockma stand. You don't usually see them this far west. Do you remember having ever tried one? Just as quickly, his usual carefree demeanor and friendly smile returned as he led Liam from between the 2 stalls and toward a stand serving round balls of fried dough. These papers are yours. The well-dressed member of the Gemsmiths Union slid a sheaf of papers across the counter contemptuously, retracting his hand quickly before Liam could touch the stack of documents. Thank you, Liam said, taking the collection of paperwork. He hadn't been expecting to receive anything from the Union other than the sign-off on his job card. Inter-guild business, Norrie whispered from where he had stationed himself behind Liam. The experienced adventurer had stood back and let Liam take the lead in dealing with the gemsmiths. Anytime one guild does business with another, there's always extra paperwork involved. It keeps the 2 organizations in good standing, the union worker behind the counter added. Proper record-keeping and all that. Makes sense. Liam folded and tucked the papers into his belt, as he had no pouch big enough for them. If he was going to continue accepting these delivery jobs, he'd have to see what Stossen offered in the way of backpacks. And then, of course, there's your internal paperwork as well. The clerk held out his hand expectantly. When Liam looked at the open hand blankly, Norrie gave him a nudge from behind. "The job card," he hissed. "Oh, right. Liam pulled the card from his pouch and placed it in the man's hand. "Right." The gemsmith clerk gave a small sigh of exasperation and a large condescending smile before leaning over and signing the document. "Thank you." Liam moved to retrieve the card as politely as possible, but instead wound up snatching it from the counter as soon as the man was finished with it. "Yes, thank you." Sensing an inter-guild incident brewing, Norrie grabbed Liam by the shoulders and forcibly turned him from the counter. "What a patronizing jerk," Liam said as the two walked out of the wide double doors of the building. "The gemsmiths are the richest of the guilds," Norrie explained as he walked ahead of Liam down the building steps. "They like to think it makes them better than everyone else." "Well, for such a hoity-toity organization, they sure hand out a lot of paperwork." Liam tugged at the collection of papers in his belt. "What is all this, anyway?" "Job requests, mostly," Norrie said as the two walked along the stone-paved roads of Inner Stossen. The Gemsmith Union's building was located in an upscale neighborhood, something that was relatively new to a town like Stossen, and sat in a cul-de-sac with several other large buildings that Liam didn't recognize. Probably more courier work and some receipts, I would think. "Job requests, huh?" Liam asked as they turned out of the court and directly onto the western branch. "Like the cards on the wall before they've been processed?" "Exactly that, yeah," Norrie nodded. Liam fell silent for a few minutes while the two walked the highway through town. The pair walked on, surrounded by the walls of mixed-use gray brick and stonework buildings that lined the boulevard through town. "Couldn't you just take the paperwork and complete the jobs on them?" Liam finally asked as the two walked around a particularly slow ox cart. "You mean cut the guild out completely?" Norrie asked, avoiding a sizable pile of horse manure on the road. "Yeah." "It's a bad idea. You'll lose your guild membership when you get caught, and you will get caught. In the long run, you'd make more money just sticking with the guild. Not to mention it'd be a lot safer." "Safer?" "Well, yeah. Adventurers are a pretty loyal bunch. The locals find out you screwed over the hall, and they'll come down on you hard, with heavy objects." Norrie made a throat-slitting motion that earned him a troubled look from some passer-by. "If they're so loyal, is there ever any trouble with guild members screwing each other over?" Liam asked. "It's been known to happen," Norrie admitted, disappointment showing in his voice. "But if you can prove it, then the guild will get involved and back you." "And if you can't prove it?" "If you can't prove it, you're usually pretty much out of luck. The guild won't stand for infighting." Norrie looked to Liam with a bit of mischief in his eye. "If you're lucky, though, and the guild still believes you, they might just turn a blind eye while you get your own back." "I thought infighting wasn't allowed." Liam's face formed a sly, inquiring look to match Norrie's mischievous one. "It isn't. But what the guild doesn't know..." "And if they're not looking, how could they possibly know, right?" Liam finished the thought for Norrie. "Precisely." Through the crowd of people, Liam could just make out the edges of the town plaza ahead. Their conversation had carried them most of the way back to the hall. "Why not just skip town then? Go and work for a different hall?" Liam asked as the two walked on. The sun was in its final transition from late morning to noon, and with the appearance of the plaza ahead, his first job as a guild initiate was drawing to a close. "What's with these questions? Planning something I should be worried about?" Norrie jested. "I guess you could, for a little while anyway. You'll travel faster than any news of your wrongdoings would, but the news would still catch up to you eventually. Sooner or later, every guild hall in the organization would have the information that you had screwed over another member, or worse, the guild itself. Like we talked about earlier, the guild is constantly sending messengers to and from all its halls. Jobs get passed along, news, requests for help, announcements. Multiple times a week, couriers leave the hall to carry messages across the network. They're delivered all over the country and beyond. You'd be out of work in a few months." Norrie wrapped up his explanation as the two walked into the open air of the large plaza at the heart of Stossen. "If they don't know what you look like," Liam thought to himself as the two crossed the plaza to the guild hall, "then you could reinvent yourself. It wouldn't be hard, it wouldn't be right, but it wouldn't be hard." Liam wondered how many former members of the guild had done just that over the years. How many men and women were out there living different lives far from their home halls after committing some grievous sin. He thought better than bringing it up to Norrie, though. With his own sudden appearance and off backstory, he didn't want to start unintentionally planting concerns about his own past. Liam of Carcanne was written by Will Hanson. This chapter has been read for you by the author. If you've enjoyed this episode, why not leave a comment? I'd love to hear what you think. Likewise, every like, rating, and subscription helps. Liam of Carcanne is now available as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and all other major podcast distributors. Want more information on Liam or Will? Visit the Wooks Books YouTube channel, Facebook page, or website, all linked in the description. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next time.